Good morning, children. Today I am going to start with a new topic, The Last Leaf. It is written by O. Henry. This is a story between two best friends. Okay? That is a Sue and a Johnsie. So let us see what is the story. In a Greenwich village at the top of three-story brick house, Sue and Johnsie had their studio. They had met at an English trade Delmonico and found their taste in art so constant that the joint studio resulted. So in a Greenwich village, in a three-story buildings they used to live. Okay, the Sue and Johnsie, they had their own studio, and now both the friends were having a same taste. What is the same taste? That is of art. Okay, so both were agreeable and they had made a joint studio for themselves. That was in May. In November, a cold, unseen stranger, whom the doctor called pneumonia, or we can say pneumonia, stalked about the colony, touching one here and there in this incy figure, smiting his victim by scores. So in this, that was a month of May. In November, the disease was being spread. What disease? That was a pneumonia. Mainly it is spread during the cold season. So doctor, he was running from one place to another place. For what? To look after the patient, those who are suffering from pneumonia. Johnsie he smote. She lay scarcely moving on her iron bed sheet, looking through the small window pane at the blank side of the next brick house. Now who was suffering with that disease? Johnsie. So what she was doing? She was laying on her bed and looking throughout the outside with a window panes. One morning, the busy doctor invited Sue into a hallway. She has one chance in 10, he said, and that chance is for her to want to live. So what the doctor said? That she has only a 1% out of a 10 that she can survive, because it is now entirely depend on her. Your little friend had made up her mind that she is not going to get well. Has she anything on her mind? She wanted to paint the Bay of Naples someday, said Sue. Paint, boss, said the doctor. I will do all that science, through my efforts, can accomplish. But when my patient began to count the carriage in her funeral procession, I subtract 50% from the curative power of medicine. So what the doctor replied? Paint. Boss, I can do whatever is on my hand. Okay. So what is say when the patient itself start counting the person or the carriage in the procession, that means the patient is not having a will to survive, then only my science and medicine can do for the 50%, and rest of the 50% is depend entirely on the patient. After the doctor had gone, Sue went to a workroom and cried a napkin to a pulp. Then she sprang into a Johnsie room with her drawing board. Johnsie lay, scarcely making a ripple under the bedclothes, with her face towards the window. Sue arranged her board and began a pen and ink drawing to illustrate Max's story. As she was sketching, she heard a low sound several times repeated. She went quickly to the bedside. Johnsie's eyes were open wide. She was looking out of the window and counting backward. 12, she said, and little later 11, and then 10, and 9, and then 8, and 7, almost together. She looked out of the window. What was there to count? There was only a bare dairy yard and the blank side of the brick house, 20 feet away. An old ivy vine climbed halfway by the brick wall. Its skeleton branches clung, almost bare, to the crumbling bricks. What is it, dear? asked Sue. 6, said Johnsie in almost a whisper. They are falling faster now. 3 days ago, there were almost 100. It made my head ache to count them. But now it is easy. So what Jhansi was counting? Jhansi was counting the leaves, the wind leaves that was falling down. There goes another one. There are only 5 left now. 5? What dear? Leaves of the ivy vine. When the last one fall, I must go too. I must go too. That means he's according to the way that when the last leaf will fall, she will die. I have known that for 3 days. Didn't the doctor tell you? Oh, I never heard of such nonsense, said Sui, with a magnificent scorn. What have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? Don't be goosey. Why, the doctor told me this morning that your chance for getting well real soon were 10 to 1. There goes another, said Jhansi, keeping her eyes fixed upon the wall. That leaf just flew. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark. Then I will go too. Jhansi dear, said Sui, bending over her, will you promise me to keep your eyes closed and not to look out of the window until I am done work? So what the Jhansi asked? That to keep her eyes closed till she finished her work done. I must hand those drawing in by tomorrow. I need the light, or I would draw the shade down. Couldn't you draw in the other room? Asked the Jhansi coldly. I did rather be here by you, said Sui. Besides, I don't want you to keep looking at those silly ivy leaves. Tell me, as soon as you have finished, said Jhansi, closing her eyes and lying white and still, because I want to see the last one fall. I am tired of waiting. So what does Sui reply? That you have to finish fast, because I have to open my eyes, because I want to see the last leaves are falling. Okay? Try to sleep, said Sui. I must call Brahman up to be my model for the old hermit miner. I will not be gone a minute. Don't try to move till I come back. Old Brahman was a painter who lived on the floor beneath them. He was past 60, that means he has crossed the 60 years, and a failure in art. That means he was not a success artist. He had been always about to paint a masterpiece, but never yet began. He earned a little by serving as a model to the young artists in the colony. So, he wants to make a masterpiece of his lifetime, but he had never started. Okay? Now, he was working as a model for the young artists, those who were living in the colony. A fearless little old man, he regarded it his special duty to protect the 2 young artists in the studio above. Sue found Brahman in his dimly lighted den. She told him of Jhansi's fancy and how she feared she would indeed light and fragile as a leaf herself float away when a slight hold upon the world grew weaker. Old Brahman shouted his contempt and derision. Derision means children, a scram or ridiculous. Now the old Brahman was really angry with the view of the Sui that she was having, that she will die when the last leaves of ivy will fall down. For such idiotic imagining was, he cried, is dear pupil in the world meant foolishness to die because leave they drop or from the confound vine? I have not heard of such a thing. Why do you allow don't silly business to come in, dear brain of her? Dot poor little Miss Yonsi. So here you can see the children. The language is something little bit different. Okay? Due to her old age. Due to his old age. She is very ill and weak, said Sui, and the fever has left her mind morbid and full of strange fancies. Just like a woman, yelled Brahman, God, this is not any balance in which one so got as Miss Yonshi shall lie sick. Some day I will paint a masterpiece and we shall go away. Got? Yes? Jhansi was sleeping when they went upstairs. She pulled the shade down to the window. Sil and motioned Brahman into the other room. In there, they prefer out the window, fearful at the ivy vine. Then they look at each other for a moment without speaking. A persistent cold rain was falling mingled with snow. Brahman in his old blue shirt took his seat on an upturned kettle. When Aswi awoke next morning, she found a Jhansi with a dull, wide-open eye staring at the drawn shade. "Pull it up, I want to see," she ordered in a whisper. Wearily, Sui obeyed. But a lot after the beating rain and furious gust of wind that has endured through the night, endure means student, lasted, okay? There yet stood out against the brick wall on ivy leaf. It was last one of the veins, still dark green near the stem, with its terrent means jagged edge, tinted with yellow. It hung bravely from the branch, some 20 feet above the ground. "Is it the last one?" said Jhansi. "I thought it would have surely fall during the night. I heard the wind. I will fall today, and I shall die at the same time." "Dear, dear," said Sui, leaning her own face down to the pillow. "Think of me. If you won't think of yourself, what would I do?" The day wore away, and even through the twilight they could see the lonely ivy leaf clinging to its stem against the wall. With the coming of its night, the north wind was again loosed, while the rain beat against the window. When it was light enough, Jhansi the merciless commanded that the shade be raised. The ivy leaf was still there. Jhansi lay for a long time looking at it. Then she called to a Sui, who was stirring chicken broth over the gas stove. "I have been a bad girl, Sui," said Jhansi. "Something has made the last leaf stay there to show me how the wicked I was. This is a sin to want to die. You may bring me a little broth now, and no bring me a hand mirror first. I will sit up and watch you cook." An hour later, she said, "Sui, someday I hope to paint the Bay of Naples." The doctor came in the afternoon, and the Sui had an excuse to go into the hallway as he left. "Even chance," said the doctor, taking a Sui thing, shaking hand in his. "With good nursing, you will win. Now I must see another case downstairs, Benham, some kind of an artist. I believe pneumonia too. He is an old, weak man, and the attack is acute. There is no hope for him, but he goes to the hospital today to be made more comfortable." The next day, doctor said to the Sui, "She is out of danger. You won't. Nutrition and care now. That's all." That afternoon, Sue came to the bed where Jhansi lay and put one arm around her. "I have something to tell you," she said. "Mr. Behrman died of pneumonia today in the hospital. He was ill only today. The janitor means the doorkeeper, found him in his room downstairs, helpless with pain. His shoes and clothing were wet through an icy cold. They could not imagine where he had been on such a dreadful night. Then they found a lantern still lighted and a ladder that had been dragged from its place, and some scattered brushes and a palette with a green and yellow color mixed on it. And look out of the window, dear, as the last ivy leaf on the wall. Didn't you wonder why it never fluttered or moved when the wind blew? Ah, darling, it's a Behrman masterpiece. He painted it there the night the last leaf fell." Student, you might have understood the lesson properly. Now it's the time to start the grammar. Today I am going to explain you the model. We use a model verb to express an opinion of something or to describe our attitude towards something. It is used as another verb to form a tense or mood. "I can see puppy running across the road," expressing the ability can. "Would," it expresses the habitual expression. "Should," it gives advice. So here you can see the children, some of the model auxiliary verb. can, it show the ability. Could, ability, a little uncertainty. May, polite request, permission. Might, possibility or doubt. Shall, first person futurity or determination. Should, obligation or advice. Will, second and third person futurity. Would, promise, polite request, determination, hope and habitual action. Okay, so here you have to identify the modal verb and you have to tell their uses. May I come in please? Ravi asks his teacher. So may is the modal auxiliary verb, and what is the use? Polite request, permission and possibility. You should comb your hair before we head out. Should. So children, here you can see the use, obligation or advice. He could hear a strange noise coming from downstairs. That is a little uncertainty. Okay, the auxiliary verb is a could. And what is the use? A little uncertainty. I will come with you only if you get out of those ridiculous clothes. Will, that is a second and a third person futurity. They might be able to make it for the second half to play. Might, children, that is a possibility, or you can say doubt. Your handwriting is disgrace. Can you read this? Can. Children, show the ability. I knew I should, but I simply could not bring myself to face my friend just yet. Should and could. So should is an obligation or advice, and could is the ability or little uncertainty. How dares he say that? He would never speak to his father like that. Would, that is a promise, polite request or determination. Would you mind reserving a seat for me? Would, that is only promise, polite request and determination. Phrasal verb. Okay children, what is a phrasal verb? A phrasal is a group of a word which function as a verb. It has a verb with a preposition or adverb or both. So here we will use some of the phrasal verb. My sister picked out a luxurious stunning dress to wear our cousin's wedding. The teacher looked over Raju's paper once more, unable to believe the amount of improvement she had found in his work. He stayed in Germany for only a week, but still managed to pick up quite a few German phrases. His classmate picked on him mercilessly, troubling him for an entire week before they decided to leave him alone. The principal said she would look into the matter a little more before making a decision. Have you looked up any information on the topic that was given to you? I like looking after my little nephew more than anything. She sat at the table for a whole hour and picked at her food. Okay children, now here is an abbreviation. An abbreviation is a shortened form of the word or phrase. For example, CM, that is a chief minister. PM, member of parliament. Mr, that is a mister. Now write the abbreviation of this word. United States, that is UN. Short message service, that is SMS. Colonel, you have to put a dot. Avenue, AVE dot. Extra, that is the ETC dot. Okay children, so you might have understood the abbreviation. Now acron. Acron is the abbreviation that is formed when the initial letter of the word in a phrase. It is usually pronounced as a word. Like CD-ROM, that is a compact disc read only memory. BAFTA, British Academy of Film and Television Art. UNESCO, United Nations Educational Science, Cultural and Organization. And rest of the icon you will do by yourself. You will search it in your net. Okay, so student, you might have understood the lesson and the grammar part very well. So we will meet on the next session. Bye, have a good day.